Welcome back to yet another episode of Candid Conversations. Here we pull the curtains on the success stories of today's changemakers, talking about the vulnerability, the relatable stories of inspiration. And today I have a phenomenal woman. She is Nafisa Atiku Adejuan. She is an advocate, a lawyer, the founder of NAF Foundation, and she has inspired millions of women all around the world in leadership and in politics. Hello, Nafisa. How are you doing today?
Hello, Blessing. I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here in the studio with us. And I'm sure there's so much story that you'd want to share with us, especially seeing your success story, see what you've achieved, especially as a young woman. And we want to hear from your failures. We want to learn from your challenges. And that is why we're here. So thank you so much for gracing us with your presence today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to hear the behind the scenes of the success you are seeing today? Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
The thing with failure is it just reduces you in that moment and you feel like there's nothing else you can get right.
Sometimes when you try to figure everything out at the same time, it does not really work.
At those earlier stages, when you apply for those things and it doesn't work out, it feels like as if it's the end of the world.
Your foundation helps in where you eventually land.
Welcome back. This is still Candid Conversations with Blessing Okebe. And right here with me in the studio is one woman who keeps inspiring millions of women all over the world in leadership. So, Nafisa, a lot of women struggle, especially with imposter syndrome in leadership. And I'm sure with your experience, right, working with women, that you have encountered this, and not just for these women, but for yourself as well. So I want to ask you, have you ever doubted yourself when it comes to what the change you're making today, when it comes to what you're doing, and also when it comes to helping women? Have you ever doubted yourself or suffered from imposter syndrome? Tell us more about it and what it was like.
Okay, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure imposter syndrome is something that you totally ever get over.
Yeah.
And, I asked the same question to an older woman that I met in the US. So just for context, I also just came back from like a 2-month, executive leadership experience under the Mandela Washington Fellowship Program. And of course, they tell you, to put it in more context, right, you have about 50,000 applications from Africa. And from Nigeria, you have 20,000 applications. And out of the 20,000 applications, they pick 54 Nigerians. So you assume that someone that has been able to scale those kind of applications and, interviews should not have imposter syndrome. You should be able to tell yourself that.
Yeah.
The fact that I could get picked in 20,000 people, I should be one of the best, but it's not a soft guarantee. And, I had the opportunity to meet an older lady in her 50s. She's been, a top-ranking official in one of the second oldest university in the US called the College of William and Mary. She's done a lot of, work in trade, business, education, fairly, really, really accomplished, traveled around the world. And I had to ask, imposter syndrome. The fact that you feel like as if even if you are in this space that you don't deserve the space, the level of doubt and uncertainty that sometimes comes with stepping into new terrains. And I ask, is this something that, people at a certain age stops? Are there any techniques you use to tell yourself that, this is not going to happen, or, this doesn't apply to me anymore because I've passed this stage? You know how people outgrow certain things. And she was like, no, doubt about your abilities and capacities is like a normal, growth spurt or learning thing that happens whenever you're accessing new terrains and new levels of challenges that you can't completely elevate. You can't completely,
no matter how successful you become.
No matter how successful you are, doubts are always going to be there. The fear is always going to be there.
Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a natural thing. But where to balance things out is that you need to understand and come from a place of self-awareness that the fear might be there, and the doubt may be there. But as much as possible, do not act from a place of fear. And I think it's like a blueprint that I use for most of my decision making in life. If I notice that I'm making a decision out of fear, I tend to dial back and reevaluate things. So
I want us to bring it home, right? So from what you're saying, women, no matter what they have achieved, they still face that doubt, fear, imposter syndrome, right? And so I want us to bring it home to your personal experience. Can you tell us one moment when, despite, I mean, someone who knows, you have read your profile, will know that, will think that, she can do anything. But despite that, can you share a moment when you doubted yourself, you felt you were not good enough, and you almost wanted to give up or just didn't want to go on with whatever it was at the moment?
Yeah, it happens to me multiple times a day.
Okay.
Yeah, it happens. It happened last week, happened possibly today in the morning, happens almost every time when I ask myself, am I really supposed to be here? You know, have I, achieved enough? Do I, maybe you're just fluffing it. Some people say that, especially in this age of social media, that there is a lot of branding you can do to make yourself look like all that. But when people come and interact with you, do you indeed have the depth and the content that they need to create the change? And sometimes I'm like, Abi, is it just social media that you're just doing? These are questions, that sometimes flits through your head. And like I said, it happens to everyone, especially within patriarchal societies like Nigeria and the ones that we have, that, there's a social conditioning or like stereotypes that makes it feel like as if women are not supposed to be in leadership, women are not supposed to amplify their stories, their voices, and be, assertive about the things that they want or want to be seen on stages. It kind of comes with the territory. And like I said, self-awareness is always really key to understanding those dynamics, understanding the contextual challenges in which you have been placed in. So do those things happen? Yes, they definitely do happen. Let me think and see if I can look for a previous really integral experience. Okay, I think someone wanted me to speak somewhere. Someone wanted me to facilitate a high profile session. And this high profile session was for people that were way older than me. Okay. And have way more experience than I do. In a field that I don't exactly have the most expertise on, but the person wanted me to do it. And I was like, okay, you want me to do on this topic with these people that are old enough to be my parents and high profile people? And she was like, yeah, you should. And I did. And nothing happened. And everyone was great. And the session went great. And everyone learned something new. And I learned something new. And the participants learned something new. So the point is that you don't exactly, the fear will always be there. The insecurity will always be there. The doubts will always be there. But ask yourself this question. Will it kill you? Answer is probably no. Yeah. Most likely no. So even if you feel failure has never killed anyone, it will tell you no. Well, after there's something that a friend of mine used to say in a former office that insults not the kill person. And it's basically true. The worst you can do is to tell me no. The worst you can do is to tell me that probably didn't work out. But what if it works out? Yeah. What if it's a yes? Yeah. What if it works out? What if it turns out to be the most amazing thing you've ever done? What if it turns out that really, that's why they say usually that it's other people that see the potential in ourselves and not necessarily us, right? So ask yourself this question at the end of the day: what do you have to lose? And it's usually nothing. Amazing. Now, something you said struck me about the fact that, especially as a woman in leadership, right? And you're achieving so much. Has there been a time when you were criticized just because you were a woman who was achieving so much? Like, are you not supposed to be at home taking care of your family and all that, but you're out there? So whether it's in leadership, whether it's at work or career, have there been moments like that just because of your gender you were criticized? Well, to be honest, I think in terms of my work, not so much. And I think that's because I've managed to work with, progressive people. Okay. But when it comes to politics, yes. I have voiced out on occasion that, when you're, okay, so let's say for instance, I went to a political meeting. Okay. And I was seated with, the rest of the stakeholders in the room. And then suddenly the admin staff in the secretariat thinks that it's my job to serve coffee and tea to everyone and sell small chops. And I look at him.
Just because you were the only woman there, what?
Yeah, just because I was the only woman there. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to get up from here. I came for a meeting like everyone else. So I'm not going to get up. Or do we talk about the time when, we're having conversations on frameworks and processes in the precursor? This was about back in like 2019, right? I was in another political party then. And I shared my opinion. And some man thought it was okay to say that I was insulting the intelligence of everyone in the room and I should keep quiet because he has my type at home. Right? And I was like, well, no. You just don't say that, or you just don't do those sorts of things. Or do we talk about when I told someone I wanted to run for office and he said, have you told your husband, or do you have permission from your husband?
Yeah.
I was just a young married woman and I was like, okay, first of all, I won't be discussing this important decision in my life if I hadn't, talked to the stakeholders. But does that make or define my decision if I really do want to run?
So if you hadn't talked to him,
so really, does that make or define it? Or not even just being married, right? Someone looking at me and because I was assertive on a point of view, saying that, oh, no one would marry you.
And I'm sure a lot of women can actually relate to these stories, right? Especially in your job, in your career, and you see people stereotyping you just because you are a woman. There are so many lessons here so far, and there's so much more lessons to come. So we're just going to take a short break, and when we come back, we go right in again. Welcome to Candid Conversations. This is that show that offers unfiltered glimpse into the real stories of some of today's most impactful leaders. In a world that often celebrates the final products of success, Candid Conversations takes you behind the scenes to uncover the personal struggles, doubts, fears, failures that have shaped the leaders we admire today. In each episode, we sit down with people who have made their mark across different industries: media, politics, entertainment, business, entrepreneurship, and beyond. And we have honest, thought-provoking conversations around their personal and professional journeys. The goal of the show is simple. It is to go beyond the accomplishments and accolades and uncover the raw, emotional stories that rarely make the headlines. My name is Blessing Okebe, your host, and this show is coming to you live from Universal TV Africa. Let's get into this conversation. Can you share a moment when you doubted yourself, you felt you were not good enough?
I'm just super ambitious. My ambition might not be loud, but there are certain things that I do want to achieve that I would want to do.
I'm sure there are many times in your life when things didn't go according to plan. Tell us about one of those moments.
Wow.
This is still Candid Conversations, and in the studio we have the beautiful and well-accomplished Nafisat, who has been sharing so many relatable stories of strength. And talking about these vulnerable stories, right, I want to pose another question to you.
Okay.
Right? Accomplishments do not come without sacrifices. And I'm sure that at a point in your career, personal life, professional life, there has been a time you had to sacrifice something for the other. Can you take us back to that moment and let us know if you actually regret making that sacrifice? Was it worth it in the end, right? And if you regret, or if given the opportunity, you will do it over and over again. Can you take us back to that moment, please?
So, and this is just my perspective, right? I don't think it's just a moment for me. I think it's a continuous way of life, because I made a tweet and, I'm a Christian, and there's a Bible verse that says, I think I'm paraphrasing now, that the wicked don't sleep, or the wicked don't deserve any sleep, but basically paraphrasing. And yeah, there is no rest for the wicked.
There's no rest for the wicked.
Exactly, that's a Bible phrase. And I went to my Twitter, or I think my WhatsApp status, and I said, I think this should be rephrased as, there is no rest for the responsible people.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, because, and I'm not trying to say this in a way that makes it look like as if I'm better than everyone else. But, right from when I was a young kid, like a young girl, I had like a lot of older people who had like a really, really strong ethic. And for example, like my auntie, and she gave me, I don't want to say she gave me grief, but she really did put me through some hard times. Like it was like the school of hard knocks, trying to just basically learn some lessons, how to be proactive, how to think ahead, how to plan ahead. And when you are putting forward emails and messages and doing tasks, and to be honest, it wasn't the prettiest things. We used to fight every weekend. Yes, I remember a class, a birthday party one of my friends had, and I couldn't go because they felt like, no, you shouldn't be at that birthday party. Or the fact that there was a time when I was transitioning from junior school to high school, and that particular holiday, I never went out of my house except to church. And how, strict it was, and how I felt like, like I was just living a life that at that young age that I wasn't very comfortable with, right? In terms of, I felt like as if I was a working adult. And when I went into university, because by the time you're young like that and you're growing up like that, by the time I went to university, I never stayed at home. So once I would come back from holidays, I would go for...
So you took up responsibilities at a very young age?
Yeah, I was always at jobs. In first year, I was an intern in a law firm. Second year, I was... what did I do in second year? I think, yes, I was volunteering at a summer school, Awesome Churches in Lagos.
First daughter?
No, I'm not.
Because it's usually first daughters.
No, I have like 30-something siblings. So yeah, really, really huge family. Third year, what was I even doing my third year? Third year, I was editing books at a publishing firm. Yeah, what was I doing again? I think fourth year, something happened. I think I had this surgery, so I couldn't, I had an appendicitis surgery, so I couldn't do much. And in my final year, they wanted to ban me from going out to work. But I took up a volunteering opportunity with Leads Africa, and then I went to law school. And then after law school, I just kept on working. So, those skills...
Was there a reason you were so invested in working? Were you trying to fill up a gap or anything, or it was just who you were?
Like I said, growing up with that kind of work ethic just makes you more responsible, and you feel fulfilled in work. Okay. Not to mention that this is something that I have also struggled to come to terms with as a woman, is that, you know what, I'm just super ambitious. I am ambitious. My ambition might not be loud, but there are certain things that I do want to achieve that I would want to do. Like, for instance, I can remember one holiday. I think I was waiting for NYSC. I was waiting for something. And then my auntie called me and she told me that, in the next how many years, what could you say have been the efforts, or what could you say you've done to make Nigeria better for your younger cousin? Or it was like emotional blackmail, but she was like, what can you say you've done that will make this country better for your younger cousin, or your whatever it is, or whoever it is? And I was like, at that point in time, I was like, oh my God, what kind of stress is this? But the irony is that soon after having that conversation, I went and started doing free civic education classes for secondary schools in Lagos then. And then when I moved to Ibadan for my NYSC, I did those free civic education classes for 3 secondary schools in Ibadan, public secondary schools in Ibadan, raised funds to pay for some school fees, and distributed books to all those classes that I taught. And it literally jump-started what I would call, my career in development and advocacy and, speaking out for things. And it also helped that I also grew up in a house that, it was always really action oriented. So in terms of what are the prices I've had to pay, I think it's the aspect of responsibility, because the thing is that I don't know about other people, but once they realize that you're the responsible person in this group, they will keep all the work on you.
Like they say, the reward for good work
is more work. And while that is good in itself, sometimes it robs you out of certain things, like more time you want to spend with your family, or sometimes your health, or sometimes sleep time, or just downtime. So these are costs that I think I still pay every day, Some I'm happy to pay, some I'm saying, you know what, there has to be a balance between how I take on responsibility and how I also live my life. Because at the end of the day, you're going to achieve everything and do everything and be there for everyone. But what about yourself?
Yeah. True.
So
have you been able to find that balance?
oh no, it's a struggle every day. I keep on trying to look for how to find that balance. So it's about, for me personally, and I can't say it for everyone, but for me, it's about, you know, narrowing my focus onto the things that really matter and intensifying my efforts there and learning how to say no, or not saying no that in a way that hurts the other party, but saying no in a way that I would love to do this, but I can't absolutely make time
at the moment, because a lot of people struggle to actually do that. I think the last question on this is that I'm sure there are many times in your life when things didn't go according to plan. Like you planned that after this, I was going to do this, then I'm going to achieve this, then I'm going to do this. Tell us about those one of those moments.
Wow. Okay. I think this would be when I was young and I was applying for opportunities. So I don't know, but it was at that age when I was just, you know, around doing my NYC, a lot of these opportunities like the Mandela Washington Fellowship and all. To even put it in context, I applied for the Mandela Washington Fellowship 3 times before I got in.
Okay.
Exactly. So, you know, and I know I applied for a lot of things. And, you know, at those earlier stages, when you apply for those things, and it doesn't work out, it feels like as if it's the end of the world. You feel like as if it's a dent on your work and the things that you're passionate about. And sometimes I would cry. Sometimes I would, you know, it would make no sense. It would really make no sense. There was even a period, right? I applied for the RLC. That is the regional leadership, you know, summits around. And I was admitted. And then for some strange reason, I don't know what I wasn't administered properly, I was taken off the program because they thought I was someone else. Like, it was really crazy. And I was like, what kind of nonsense is this, right? But, you know, I think if there is one thing I've learned about myself is that I'm incredibly resilient. At that point in time, I seemed like the end of the world. But before you notice, I would find a way to bounce back again and usually with more work.
Amazing. I think what you said last actually sums up your story, which is resilience, right? Keep moving no matter the obstacles, no matter the challenges. We would really love to go on because I feel there's so much story in there. But sadly, ladies and gentlemen, our time is almost up. But we cannot let you go before playing our signature game on the Candid Conversation. So I have 10 questions. Right? You pick one. So they are a mix of both questions and something you should do. So you pick one. Any number you pick, you have to answer the question or do what is stated there. So 1 to 10, 5 has been taken. So yeah.
5 has been taken.
Yeah.
So what's 7?
If you were to be a superhero, what would your power be and what would your superhero name be?
I will just go for Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. Okay, what do your superpowers?
All the superpowers.
Okay, all right. So ladies and gentlemen, this was with Wonder Woman Nafisat. Any other Wonder Woman you know is counterfeit. The real Wonder Woman is right here. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, for sharing your struggles, for sharing your doubts, and for sharing your challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, you know that we have much more episodes coming. People who have made marks in their field coming to share their vulnerable stories. So see you in the next episode, and I remain Blessing Okebe. Thank you.